The chase. What separates a good developer from a great developer? It's not just raw talent, it's habits. That's right, the little things that you do every single day can either accelerate your growth or hold you back. Today we're diving into 10 habits that every developer needs to develop to level up their skills, boost productivity, and keep their sanity intact. Trust me, after 25 years in the game, I've seen what works and what doesn't, and these habits are some game changers. Let's dive into them today. All right. Welcome back to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Thomason, and here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding bootcamp and to build custom software solutions. So I do a lot of work as a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and a solid 25 years in software development, I've mastered the art of transforming technology, teams, and products. All right, so look, I get it. Every developer loves writing that one slick line of code that feels like wizardry, right? But here's the deal. Clever code might impress your ego, but readable code wins every single time in the real world. You're not writing code just for machines. You're writing it for other developers and future you too. Keep your code simple, clear, and easy to follow. Trust me, your team will thank you, and it will save you headaches when you come back to that code 6 months or later and wonder what on earth you were thinking. So write readable code, not clever code. All right, next. Just because something works doesn't mean it's done. Great developers make a habit out of refactoring their code to improve its structure and maintainability. It's like cleaning your room. You need to do it regularly and keep things in order. Refactoring might seem like a chore, but it's what turns messy, functional code into a masterpiece that stands the test of time. And don't wait until the code is a disaster zone. Make refactoring a regular part of your routine. So again, regularly refactor your code. All right, if you're doing something more than once, you're wasting time. So as a developer, we have the luxury of automating so many of our tasks from testing to deployments. The less time you spend on repetitive grunt work, the more time you can spend on building new features and solving interesting problems. Use automation to your advantage. Set up continuous integration pipelines, automated tests, and deployment scripts. It'll free up your time and reduce human error and do what you love to do, which is write code and develop things. So automate those repetitive tasks. All right, now next. I know testing isn't exactly the most glamorous part of every developer's job, but it's a habit that every great developer needs. And no, I don't mean just running it once to see if it works. I mean really testing it. Write unit tests, integration tests, and make sure your code can handle edge cases. Testing not only ensures your code works today, but protects it from future changes that could introduce a bug. A great developer knows that untested code is just waiting to fail. So consistently test your code. And if your systems that at your work aren't connected, let us help out here. Here at Startup Hack, our specialty is connecting systems to help your company work like a well-oiled machine. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer because we can help out. All right, now moving on. Technology changes super fast, so if you're not learning, you're falling behind. Great developers stay curious and make a habit out of learning new languages, frameworks, and tools. And one of the best ways you can do that is by liking and subscribing to our channel here because we bring you a lot of great new tech stuff. I made over 5 new programming videos last week. I'm making some more this week. It's not about chasing every shiny new object, but here we like to keep you up to date, so make sure you like and subscribe. Now, it's not always about chasing every shiny new object, but you want to make sure you keep your skills sharp and adaptable. The languages and frameworks we use today won't be the same in 5 or 10 years, so invest in yourself by always learning something new. Read blog posts, attend conferences, take courses, whatever works for you. Alex Hormozi, who's a popular motivational and investor and business guru that I like to follow, says one of the most important things you can invest in is yourself. And I agree with that. So always keep learning new technologies. Now, this one is non-negotiable. If you're not using version control like Git, stop everything you're doing and start today. It's more than just a way to back up your code. It's a lifeline for tracking changes, collaborating with teams, and rolling back when things inevitably go wrong. One of the first things I do as a manager is when something goes wrong is I dive into the Git commits and check out what changed recently. So mastering Git commands like branching, merging, and rebasing will save you hours of frustration and prevent catastrophic code conflicts. Trust me on this one. No one wants to be the developer who accidentally overwrites an entire day's work. So master version control. All right, here's another big one. Great developers don't just write code, they solve problems. Coding is just the tool we use to get there. Make it a habit to step back and think about the why behind the code. What problem are you solving for the user? Are there better ways to approach it? Sometimes the best solution isn't the most obvious one, and by focusing on the problem, you can come up with more innovative and effective solutions. So, focus on problem solving, not just coding. Now, next, code isn't the only language you need to master. Clear communication is just as important, whether it's through comments in your code, documentation, or daily stand-ups. Make it a habit to communicate effectively. Your team needs to understand what you're working on, why you're doing it, and how it impacts the bigger picture. Miscommunications lead to wasted time, misunderstandings, and frustrations. A great developer not only writes good code, but makes sure everyone understands the purpose behind it. So communicate clearly with your team. Now, burnout is real, and if you don't take care of yourself, your productivity will plummet. I know it's tempting to grind through the hours and on into the middle of the night, but take regular breaks and it will actually boost your focus and creativity and your effectiveness. Step away from your screen, take a walk, or grab a quick bite to eat. When you come back, you'll have fresh eyes and a cleaner perspective. It's about working smarter, not harder. So make sure to build in break times to keep your mind sharp. Now, I know that one of the things is I've looked back at code over the years and thought, that must be 3 a.m. code. This is part of the reason I, as a manager, always try to keep my developers to a reasonable number of hours. The other thing is when you're frustrated, sometimes you just got to throw down your tools, walk away, take a breather, and you can come back and look at it from a different perspective. It's sometimes kind of like turning the chessboard to get a different view. Now, so then take breaks regularly to stay productive. All right. Next, we're going to get into is documentation is like the vegetables of the software world. Everyone knows it's good for you, but no one wants to do it. Here's the truth. Good documentation saves time. It saves confusion, and it saves future headaches. Make it a habit to document your code and keep it up to date. It doesn't have to be an essay, just enough to explain what the code does and why certain decisions were made and how someone else can or use it or modify it. You'll thank yourself later, and so will your team. And one of the most important places to make really good documentation is your commit code or your commit messages. When you commit, spend a few minutes and actually explain why you were making the commit, right? So keep that documentation up to date. You'll thank me later. All right, one of the best habits you can develop as a programmer is knowing when to ask for help. No one knows everything, and that's okay. If you're stuck on a problem, don't waste hours banging your head against the wall. Reach out to a colleague, a mentor, or the community. Great developers don't let their egos get in the way of learning or getting things done. Stay humble and open to feedback, and it will make you a stronger programmer in the long run. So stay humble and know when to ask for help. I remember in the early days of Clean Router when we were doing something that no one had really done before. We were packing all this stuff onto a router that really didn't have the horsepower to do it. So we were really stretching the boundaries. I spent hundreds of hours scouring in community blogs, posting in community blogs, and I am so eternally grateful for those people who helped me out in the community. So reach out to your community. And if you're stuck, don't be afraid to just say, hey, I need another pair of eyes on this one. I always love to get my teams to collaborate together. Another thing I wanted to point out here is this is part of the reason here at Startup Pack we really provide tutoring for every single student who comes through our coding boot camp, because as you learn to code, it's inevitable that you're going to need help. So we provide a tutor who can help you to know how to get stuck or get unstuck when you get stuck. So stay humble, know when to ask for help. All right. Lastly, it's the last one we're going to go over today. Make it a habit to reflect on your work. At the end of a project or even a long day of coding, take a moment to think about what went well and what didn't. What could you improve? What did you learn? Reflection is crucial for growth, and as a developer, it's how you turn experience into expertise. The more you practice this, the faster you'll improve, and the more effective you'll be in the future. Kind of another take on this is make sure you work in your job or on your job as much as you work in your job. So if you're coding all day long, make sure you zoom out, look at it as if you were from another perspective, and just reflect on what you've done. Sometimes you'll get a different perspective. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree with some of these? I love to have a great discussion. So make sure you leave a comment down below. Here at Starter Pack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding bootcamp, as well as to build custom software solutions for a company. So if your company has some disconnected systems, reach out because we'd love to help. Here at Startup, you can hit me up at startuphack.com/Spencer or reach out at Spencer at startuphack.com, and we'll catch you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.